Thank you, Corey. Hello, everyone. Like Corey said, it is a busy agenda packed with information and exciting updates. First, we will kick it off with a sales update. Then we will talk about the new features we have developed since January of 2017. Then we will have a short demo. We will also talk about payment integrations, about our initiative to support the live installations, or as we call it internally, Operations Handhold. We will also talk about our roadmap, the RMH Central, the web services. We will give an update on the marketing side, on the e-commerce launch, and we will share our training schedule with you. At the end, like Corey said, we will open the webinar for questions and comments. So without further ado, let's hand it over to Rachel for a sales update. Over to you, Rachel.
Hello, everyone. This is Rachel Smith. Thank you, Anastas. I just want to say that we've seen a significant uptick in the demand in the marketplace for RMH, and this has been measured by the number of leads we've received and generated, as well as the number of resellers that we've certified. So let's take a look. So currently we have approximately all total about 414 RMH customers, and this is fantastic considering it's only been a few months since we launched the product. Our reseller growth over the past 6 months has been pretty significant as well. We have 39 resellers that were certified just in the past 6 months, with a total of 60 individuals who are certified, which is roughly 1.5 people per reseller who have been trained and certified on RMH. And then we have a total of 17 net new resellers that have been certified. This is just in the past 6 months. So we had certification classes held in May and June. There was one in, the one in May was in Boston. June was in Denver. Those classes were extremely well attended, and the demand has been such that we've already scheduled another class for August 14th through 16th in Napa, California. So this class is open to resellers who want to be certified, existing resellers who feel they would just benefit from some additional training, and then also retailers as well who just want some more training on the product. In terms of lead growth, we have approximately 376 leads that have been generated just from the RMH website. And again, I think this is a pretty significant number. It's an average of 62 leads a month and roughly 2 a day. We are also working with quite a few customers that are running RMH and are very happy with the product. We're offering to do a case study promoting their use of RMH and how it's helped their business, while also promoting their brand and helping them bring new business to new business to them as well. So we ask if there are any retailers out there, any resellers who would like to potentially be included in one of our customer testimonials or case studies or press releases. This is the kind of publicity that really helps everyone, so we would appreciate any volunteers. And that's my update, Anastas. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Rachel, for the sales update. Next, I will give an update, quick update on the development side. We have been busy, but good busy that is. Over the past 6 months, we have been rolling out new features that our market has been asking for. We have also been consistently closing the gap between RMH and RMS, you know, the little things that our customers were used to seeing in RMS and they could not quite find in RMH. So we've been quite busy with that too. This slide is a summary of the larger features that we have implemented since January of 2017. It is a busy slide and I'm not going to read it all, but just to highlight some of these, we have implemented various improvements in the way we search items and customers. both on the POS side and in our store manager. We also implemented role-based security in RMH. Our product now supports tax brackets, standard denominations, gift vouchers, exchange rates in customer invoices. We have implemented tiers for weighted items, which is one of the requirements for our pending weights and measures certification. We made various improvements, performance optimizations and improvements to loyalty, and we did some integration with RMH headquarters, which allows our customers now to check store availability and process returns. It is a long list, and we have been moving at a breakneck pace. And we all know that with so many features there is an increased complexity, and there are some risks of programming defects. So over the past couple of months we have been slowly shifting our focus a little bit away from new features and more towards stability and thorough end-to-end testing. Our releases, especially the latest releases, have been increasingly more and more stable and more reliable. I recommend that our users should upgrade to our latest RMH 332 release, which is now available for download. And going forward, we will still be adding new features, but those will be fewer and bigger features, and we will continue to put a significant amount of our attention to improving the quality of the RMH product. This essentially means that we will be increasing the breadth and the depth of our testing. We will be spending more time on regression testing before we release our software for public download. We will be decreasing the amount of open Gemini tickets. So we're all excited, and we're looking forward to the next leg of our journey. Next, we'll give you a short demo of some of the key features that we have developed since January of 2017. That would be Colin. We will hand over the screen sharing to Colin at this point. Corey, if you could do that.
Hi, good day everybody. I just wanted to show some of the new features listed on system and just give you an idea of some of the changes that put into product itself. So I'll just proceed. I'll try not to rush it as I tend to do, so you can get a good idea of what it is. So in simple situation, you have your cashier login. Number one, we have an opportunity then for them to go ahead and log in from a time clock point of view. Have option then to punch in and then begin their shift as a total from a simple perspective. The nice thing to notice is that this can be done irrelevant if you're the person logged into system at the moment. So simply to highlight again what I'm saying there is to go in and I can say myself as the administration manager can come in and log in. You can see it's Colin now logging in, and I can punch in, but we go straight back in and Tanguy can carry on with his normal workload and what he needs to do. So some of the simple things to now mention is we have the cashier override, which I wanted to show very briefly. So I select a customer in this situation. We go ahead and process a transaction for our customer, and in the course of that he determines that, you know, I've just realized that I've changed company and the details are incorrect. So I have the option right now, if I want to edit the customer, it's saying you do not have permissions in order to do this. So simple opportunity then to go in from here, instead of logging out the cashier and logging back in the supervisor for override perspective, I can physically go and run from a cashier override point of view. I can have my supervisor log in. The thing to notice is the cashier override is in effect. Okay, so now I can go into my customer, hit the edit point of view. I can go ahead and change the business information. All right, I can then save it, update it onto system. You can see I'm now logged in as Colin. Instead of having to log out and log back in, I can go ahead and hit the cashier override button. Automatically it's logged out my supervisor, logged in Tanguy. Tanguy can now continue with the transaction at his security level. We're applying a loyalty purchase against this one, tender the transaction and finalize the setup. Okay, so I think it makes it simple. The idea is that it takes a few button clicks away and makes it very easy at a level up in order to make specific changes and updates on system itself. Next one I'll have a look at is just something that's come along, which is HQ availability. Preemptively, this would be part and parcel of the HQ Central, but because we are linking to the RMH HQ right now, there's still a need within a multi-store business to be able to review store availability and to look at stock across branches to better serve your client. So we've just simply created one or two shortcuts over here, and I've created one for HQ store availability, and similarly I've created for global return, which I'll review in a moment. Okay, so simply stated, I can then go in and say world famous water bottles. The client wants to go to another store to do it. I can then, in this case, it's highlighted that item, select store availability, and across our multiple branches it will then show you what the stock position is relevant to when it was last sold, and what the stock current holding is at this point in time. Similarly, if I went and did a product lookup, and I selected Force Awakens, I can also go from here and review store availability. So you can see I'm oversold in the store, but I've got 3 units available in my New York store. So quite simple, and it references the HQ, which is up to date up until the last synchronization between the different branches. Okay. Similarly, something worth mentioning, if I take this out quickly, from one of the ones which is nice to have, which I know those of us who are RMS pundits didn't have access to before, is the ability to look at a global return. So in this situation, a client purchased at a New York branch, and just flying in, and he's got a problem with the product being damaged and he wants to return it in the local branch. So I can go in, capture the transaction number. I'll just take an example of one. Do a search. It then calls the transaction up from that branch into your local store. Okay, and you can say, well, you know, in this situation, I only want to return the Force Awakens unit. Okay, I can then go ahead and process the transaction for the $18. It automatically selects the tender format the client used in that branch also, which is a nice feature. I can then go ahead and process the refund, and the customer has now returned the product in a different store. So I think this is definitely very powerful, and it'll just give you some indication of what we will be capable of when the RMH Central is launched, based on the communications and structure. There is a document available that's included with the installation of the current 3.3.2 build, which also details how you could set this up, creation of the shortcuts, and how you would configure this functionality. So we're quite excited about that, and it's just a good prelim for what is to come. The other one I want to talk about just briefly is related to the invoice matching. So I think it's something that's been in system for quite some time, but the reality is certain of the components needed to be built out, and now I just want to demonstrate quickly, you know, how that works and what the benefit structure is. So in the structure now, I can go into File, Configuration, and I can essentially then list my set of general ledger accounts to post my transactions. So I've created those transaction links that the information will be migrated to or exported to in my general ledger for my ERP solution. All right. I then go ahead and I have a look at a purchase order. In this case, I've created a purchase order for Brady's Trade Link for some bird feed, totaling $53.75 for the full units. I then go ahead and I say receive all of those. I've put in 6-month update as a reference point and the date that's there. I've selected that we collected all 10 units, and I'm now committed to stock. All right. It then will complete my delivery. You can see it's completed over here. If I go into my purchase order history, you should now be able to see and I can get this to just more visible. All right, if I refresh, you can then see my purchase order for Brady's Trade Link for the $53.75 has now been received. At the same point, the idea with the invoice matching is that this comes off from a courier, and they delivered the product with a delivery note. At the same time, either via email or via post, your supplier then sends you the relevant supplier invoice. So from the idea with an invoice perspective is I can then go ahead against my supplier invoice, create the invoice detail with the client's information for that supplier invoice, the total amount that the invoice is due for. All right. Now I have the situation where the purchase order has been brought into system, based, confirmed and captured for the units of stock. So in this case over here, I'll go ahead and select my purchase order. All right. And I can then match that purchase order against the order received from supplier. Okay, the idea from an invoice matching point of view is when you post it is that you've then matched your purchase order to your relevant supplier invoice. Okay, and when it gets to your account clock, their confirmation is the supplier invoice has now matched your purchase order, and they can go ahead and pay. So it's a confirmation process that based on what you ordered is what was delivered, and it's then confirmed, and this means that as you track back things like your margin analysis, all those things are then matched and up to date according to the product listing. So similarly on the same side is if you look at a credit note. So in this case we process a stock transfer out to supplier, and it's returning a product. In this case I've taken an example and I've said we've got something sent to Extra Mile Sports, and it's a Sinclair Retro bicycle at $500 which is damaged, and we want to send it back for credit. Okay, so as much as I can go ahead and release the purchase, the transfer, I can then arrange to ship it. I put in the details of this, and I'll select the date that we are sending it back. Okay. So give me a moment while I do this. All right. I then say that I'm going to say ship all, shipping the unit out, and I commit the transfer out of the system. It then completes the delivery, and you can see that is then sent out. If I look at my history, I should now be able to see my transfer out to Extra Mile Sports for my Sinclair bicycle. So similarly, at the same time, I can then go from a credit note point of view, all right, and very often the structure is that we do the transfer out, but we don't wait to confirm that the supplier has in fact given us a confirmation that they've issued credit against that product item. So in this case, I can simply go in and create a new transfer out. Okay, I can say it's against my 6-month update. Once again, the total was for $500. Okay, I can select supplier, which was Faraway Cycles. Okay, if I then went into the credit matching point of view, I can then select the transfer and go ahead and match the product item. Sorry, I've selected the wrong one, but for case in point, the real focus is to understand is that from a credit amount total, we then have the ability to match it when we do the invoice matching against the actual transfer out. So when those confirmations are then sent through from a payment point of view, it means that we can confirm that the supplier has credited it, and this is now something that you can sign off. It's not a matter that it has to be moved into ERP level, and those checks and balances have to then be reconfigured and rechecked. So the idea from an invoice matching point of view is that we physically, from a posted receipts point of view, have now created a posted receipt for the purchase order. Okay, and we've also posted the invoice relevant to each of those items. So we've got a confirmation of supplier invoice, confirmation of purchase order, we've confirmed the two match. Similarly, we're doing the same thing when it comes to the posting of a credit note, all right, because we've confirmed the transfer route and we confirmed suppliers physically given us a document crediting us with the amount outstanding. So just to confirm that those components are now all in place, and between the combination of the ability to, as we discussed, load the general ledger codes, and the combination that we can then, as per normal, manage the receipt of the purchase order, manage the issuing of the stock transfer to supplier, we could similarly load the invoice from supplier and a credit note from supplier and confirm they match the totals and then post it accordingly. Okay, so from that point of view, pretty much done. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm going to hand back to you, Anastas.
Thank you, Colin. Excellent demo.
Okay.
Okay. Next is an update on the payment processor side. That would be Tony Winters.
Very good. Thank you, Anastas. Yes, my name's Tony. I generally look after the payment side of RMH, the various payment providers in terms of specifications and the certifications that we go through. So as you can see on this slide, out of the box we are supporting various regions globally, USA, Canada, UK, Europe, Australia. Our strategy is to support as many regions as possible where that makes sense, you know, given to give our customers and end users a coverage to really have an integrated solution. Sometimes, you know, a standalone terminal is appropriate, but as people strive to have greater accountability in their retail workspace, having an fully integrated solution really makes sense at the point of sale. So just to really, I have about 3 or 4 slides here just to show and highlight some of the key aspects. It really goes without saying from our point of view that there is absolutely no cardholder data handled by the RMH POS. And from the retailer's perspective, this reduces, not only reduces the scope of their annual PCI self-assessment questionnaire, but it really gives them peace of mind that in terms of data breaches, security, they can really trust their employees to work the cashier station, you know, and with the comfort that the store is going to be protected and the customer card data is also handled, you know, exclusively outside of the scope of the POS and the store merchant environment. Many of the devices that we're using, they're using encryption, and many of them have P2PE as point-to-point encryption, version 1 and version 2 certifications. So that's the sort of gold standard in terms of the end-to-end encryption. So really the card is encrypted at the point of entry into the device, and then really gets encrypted, you know, somewhere down the line, way outside of the merchant's environment, whether that's on the processor side, the gateway, or the final kind of bank side of things. So that really is the gold standard in terms of, you know, making sure those devices are handled securely, you know, the transportation from point to point, and also making sure that they're not tampered with. Every point along the supply chain, you know, there's checks and balances in place to make sure everything is authenticated. Where we have to break out to a third-party application, some of the providers provide us with an application that would reside on the POS. They've gone through PADSS validations and certifications. So again, making sure that things like the self-assessment questionnaire are easier to complete. A very important part of PCI is the implementation guide, which is not called out here, but to make sure that everything's adhered to, the various processors and providers will have implementation guides that walk the merchant and the partner or customer through how to properly implement payments. So, but really each provider offering a unique set of feature functions which we'll move on to shortly. And needless to say, EMV, which is a big part over the last couple of years in the US marketplace, all the payment providers that we support do offer EMV certifications and capabilities. So that's inserting a chip card and either using a PIN attached with that, or in many cases it's chip and signature in the US, where there's either an electronic signature or a signature captured on a receipt. So we tend not to make a big deal of that, but all of our payment providers do support that functionality. So next slide please, Anastas. So this slide that we're showing here is just to highlight some of our features, feature functions. It's not exhaustive, but it calls out the majority of the feature functions that a retailer would be interested in supporting, or maybe if they're moving from one system to a RMH, they need the surety that we can handle EBT, for instance, or gift cards, and so on and so forth. So down the left-hand side, we've got the various processes that we work with. We have just, you can see the list there. We have Vantiv, Cayenne, we have WorldPay. A new one for us is Optonomy, which we're recently proud to be certified with. That's covering UK and Ireland. And we have various, you can see the list there, the various processes for the different regions. And we've just highlighted some of the features in green. We obviously can handle different scenarios at the POS, for instance, credit and debit. And that would encompass things like EMV transactions, that would encompass swipe transactions, manual card entry, and also things like Android Pay, Apple Pay, and contactless. So that's all kind of wrapped up within that first column. We can handle customer not present type transactions on a variety of the processes where we hold a token on file. So that is very important for certain industries, maybe hairdressing salons or gym memberships, where you want to have not necessarily a card holder not present, but where there is a requirement to a certain level of trust where you can charge the card and they give you authorization to do that. We can support gift cards, we can support, as I mentioned, EBT in supermarket type scenarios, as well as cashback, gratuity with one or two of them, and also pennies and charity is becoming ever more popular. So this feature matrix really hopefully highlights and demonstrates that we try and encompass as much of the functionality that the processors and APIs offer us, and we're really rolling that up, as I'll show on the next slide, Anastas, that we're really aiming to have one API that really breaks out to any of these processors that you choose to work with. So this slide also drills down a little bit more in terms of devices. We've called out here Verifone devices, we've called out Ingenico PAX devices, which are the kind of key market leaders. There are, of course, other devices as well, and not all devices are shown on this grid. These are the general popular ones that we work with. Again, down the left-hand side, we have Vantiv, Heartland, Cayenne, WorldPay, BankTech, etc. And this really just shows the devices. So if a retailer or a merchant is coming to it from a particular device that they want to handle, for instance, the MX915, 925, they tend to be a larger footprint device that handle things like multimedia. They handle, they're future ready for things like questionnaires. They have electronic signature. They're a really nice bulky device that some retailers will want to prefer. They support things like the line display, so as the items are rung through on the POS, that line item will be shown on the display itself. So really engaging with the retailer a little bit more. Whereas some of the other devices, the PAX device is a slimline device, it has a lesser footprint, so it really depends what the retailer wants, and you can use this kind of matrix as you go and engage with the retailers to try and find out come from their perspective, not really offering them one solution, but you can say, well, what kind of device we have, and maybe steer that as a decision with which processor and provider to work with. So if you want to go to the next slide, please, Anastas. And just to sum up, really, our kind of aim is really, in terms of the reseller and implementer, is really to have one kind of out-of-the-box configuration, an API that that we can you can work with. So, for instance, we have everything is configured within the back office manager to set up the devices. We can offer it on a per POS, so you could have Cayenne working at one POS, and you could have Vantiv working at a different POS if there was a particular theme in a particular store that warranted that. So the approach is a semi-integrated approach. So as I mentioned, there's no cardholder data actually on the POS itself. It's semi-integrated, so we're really sending headline high-level information out to the payment provider, and then getting back obviously a capture information about the authorization and the receipt information. So one of the things that we are trying to minimize is the amount of configuration that is taking place. So really, to offer an out-of-the-box solution, we're working on implementation guides with the various payment providers, because there are some subtle differences between them in terms of how they're implemented. And obviously, needless to say, the receipts, because it's integrated, the payment actually doesn't take place on the POS until we get that authorization from the card machine. So it really is important to, one of the selling points of this is how not only does it streamline and speed through the activity at the cashier register, it offers security that actual transaction can't be tendered unless there's an actual authorization coming back from the payment provider. And as I mentioned, there's mapping on a per POS station, giving you flexibility to move the payment device around the store. So for instance, if you wanted to do a seasonal redeployment of the merchant, move registers around, you could actually move very easily a payment terminal from one register to another, so you've got ultimate flexibility within the store. So that pretty much wraps it up. Hopefully that gives you a flavour for what we have out of the box right now, and where we're moving to, and our kind of philosophy working with these different payment providers. I've got to say, all the payment providers here that we work with, it's a real pleasure to work with. They're trusted partners, and offer great customer service in terms of the end user merchant. So that pretty much wraps me up. Over to you, Anastas.
Thank you, Tony. Excellent update indeed. All right, next we'll give you an update on our initiative to support our live installations, or as we call it, Operation Handhold. That would be Colin.
Thank you, Anastas. Just to review quickly what we've put up on the document over here, and I think part of this is very much about a learning experience for us. I think the key understanding is that RMH is a new product, as much as there are a lot of things that make it transferable, in so much as porting a client from the RMS environment into RMH. Part of that is we wanted to actively then identify and collaborate with our partners to increase the number of happy clients that have fully functional installations in the RMH space. So I think part of that is to identify also that, I think from an impact point of view, I'm firmly of the belief that RMH did have a big a wow factor from a market point of view, specifically because it offered a next generation enhanced solution for the defunct RMS product. So that impact meant there's a lot of interest, and we had a very good feedback with regards to our early adopters program, and a lot of people getting involved to test and review and port it. With the launch, obviously there were some key initiatives to then start looking at select clients and putting it in. I think the experience was that also we needed to ensure that because it's a new product, we confirmed the stability, performance and everything on it. So part of that initiative was then to communicate and get with in tandem with our partners, is get access to the client requirements. So we were focusing then on highlighting specific clients that were installed, but not getting the kind of experience they were requiring, and needing the system to be just refined in order to improve the performance of the solution. So the scope, we then look at scoping the functionality, the details of the must-haves within the system, ensure all RMH efforts are streamlined to deliver core functionality. And part of those discussions also, if you looked at a little earlier with my demonstration, things like the store availability, the ability to refund products from external branches, okay, all of those have come from this exercise where we've now done a large amount of learning and understanding of where the product needed to be. So as part of this process, we also then looked at recreating client database and installations within our own environments. So a development team could identify, and we could then scope out what, based on the client's business profile, needed to be done in order to give them that symmetrical system performance. Part of that was online communication directly with the partner, sharing screens, obviously on-site visits. My colleague Tony went out to 2 or 3 different installations in the UK environments itself and did hand-hold process to physically view what kind of problems the clients. I know that the partners that we did this exercise in tandem with were doing this on an ongoing basis at the same time. So part of that learning curve is really where I think the exercise has proved its value, because from a business point of view, our focus has changed to prioritize the eradication of the system bugs and workflow errors. So the key focus then, if you look at the stats we've posted there, to improve product stability, we fixed 228 Gemini reported bugs since January of this year. And it significantly then looks at ensuring that as much as we've had a good impact, we start to build a rapport where the client has confidence that the product has extensibility, it's dependable, and they can expect from every aspect of it the product is workable and it will deliver according to the client requirements. There's no benefit in the customer frustration when things continually don't work, and similarly the partner has to expend resources in order to go and support those clients where these issues continue to happen. So I think as the learning curve also would dictate then, is that the core product as a priority was then the focus, instead of focusing too much on adding a slew of new features and functions. So we slowed that process down a little bit. As much as there's a lot of things we identify that we certainly would need going forward, I think the priority then became is to ensure the quality and stability. If we go to the next slide, please, Anastas. I think the whole initiative around this was for us, number one, to learn a lot about our new product and what needs to be done in order to make it work. And key in that is to demonstrate the support for our partners that are out there championing the RMH product brand. So from that perspective, what we're trying to establish is that we understand that the product needs to be grown from the ground up. It's a new product with new ideas, firstly. We realize the potential to surpass the RMH product as a product offering, and I think that's significant, because as much as we want to be able to tap and offer a solution to RMS clients, we want to go to a perspective where we want to eradicate, well, in RMS we used to. I think the comment needs to be moved to the fact that, you know, it was done like this previously, but, you know, we've got so much more flexibility. There's so much more diversity. There's so much lot on in-depth functionality. And again, part of that demonstration today was to just highlight simple things like the ability to invoice match and to confirm our supplier invoices and details are matched. So the complexity of product is really where we want to be. So no assumptions related to product success. I think the focus is to do the hard jobs first and guarantee the product readiness by physically having actual win solutions and relevant client installations that we can reference. I think the next step of that is to finally comment is to say that this exercise is never going to just basically be put aside, because we're going to be revisiting this requirement, I think more preemptively, not within a live environment, but revisit this exercise with us not assuming the success of the RMH Central, but to apply the lessons learned here into having that product properly tested out and stress tested to ensure that when the clients are ready to move to the RMH Central, they have a similar experience, and that, well, a more successful experience, I think, certainly is the focus. And obviously the product brand is then enhanced by that. We continue then to build on the initial rapport that RMH created, but then create the impact that tells everybody that this is the right place to be, and they've made the right business decision to get on board and start to push this product out into the retail industry. Thank you very much, Anastas.
Wonderful update. Thank you, Colin. Next, we'll hand it over to Anthony Ludmilin, who will talk about our roadmap, the RMH Central, and our web services.
Thank you, Anastas. Hi, everyone. So just give you a little bit of history here. We launched RMH first in August 2016 with the version 3.0, and it was to ensure the continuity with RMS, Microsoft Dynamics RMS, which finished on version 2 point something. So our first launch was in August, and after that, our plan was to release, to make a new a new major release every 2 to 3 months. You see that the plans are very aggressive. So in May 2017, a couple of months ago, we released RMH 3.3, and our development model is that after we make a major release, there may be 1 or 2 maintenance releases that come in between, sort of like it's they address some of the issues that have been found in the new latest major release, and maybe some bugs fixes or maybe some small improvement done. So since then, we already just released RMH 3.3.2 version, which is a maintenance release of 3.3. It doesn't have any major differences with 3.3. It's just more stable as we see it, and we just launched it. So our next going plan is in July. In just about maybe a few weeks from now, we will release RMH 3.4 version, which will contain several major features that were not available before. So first of all, we introduce, we're listening to the customers, to the partners, and we finally introduce fully customizable sharpshooter reports. So all the reports that you have in RMH, now you will be able to customize with different SQL statements, with adding columns, changing the SQL statements within these reports and so on. Also, we made a decision because we had a lot of input from our partners. Specifically, we are bringing back the RMS style QRP reports. They will be in a separate section, and essentially the good news about this is that all these abundance of custom reports that has been available for RMS, for Microsoft Dynamics RMS for a number of years, and many of you partners have developed their own customized report. Now this all will be available in RMH as well. So you will be able to use both sharpshooter reports, which provide much better, visibility and in terms of look and feel, and also for productivity, you would be able to reuse all your existing QRP reports from Microsoft RMS. Now, the next major improvement is we're bringing back task pads, which were available in the later version of RMS, and we had a lot of partners and customers ask for that because they grew to love this feature. So we're bringing very much the same functionality as in Microsoft RMS POS about the task paths, and actually it's improved quite a bit as well. So you know, when you migrate from RMS to RMH, you will have to do a little bit of work to reconfigure these task paths, but generally all this functionality will be there. And in 3.4, we're also adding some additional payment integration or certification that Tony was talking about. And our focus for the next, for the previous two releases, 3.3 and 3.4, was actually stability. Stability, and we were working very, very hard on it. We were implementing automated testing, regression testing, and things like that, just to make sure that as we keep going ahead, we're not missing some, we're not leaving some loose ends. So our next plan is RMH 3.5. It will come in sometime in Q3 with a focus in improved security roles, and we will address many customer pain points and suggestions. Actually, in fact, we have from Gemini tickets and just conversations with the partners, we have almost 200 different suggestions that we have around our list. Which of these will make into 3.5 release, I don't know at this moment. They're still being discussed, but essentially we're really listening to our partners and customers and trying to make the product as much as good as possible. So one of the major focus on 3.5 release is also RMH Central integration. And RMH Central as a product will come out in Q3 2017. And we're also working already on something called RMH Store Web Services and Thin Client POS. It is also expected sometime in Q3 2017, and I will spend a little bit more time talking about these two features in the next two slides. Anastas, please. Thank you. I know that on this call there are some people who are net new to RMH, do not have any RMS experience. So let me just explain first of all what is RMH Central. Microsoft Dynamics RMS used to have a feature which is called RMS Headquarters or RMH HQ. That allowed customers to connect multiple stores into a single so-called enterprise network, so to speak, that the stores could exchange information. There would be some sort of centralized management for multiple stores, centralized reporting, and things like that. So RMH Central is our answer to this RMS headquarters, and you can see it as a replacement, although it will be very much different from RMS headquarters in many different ways. Our immediate goal is to ensure that the customers who use RMS headquarters at the moment, they can easily migrate to RMH Central. In fact, we're already going through this direction, and for example, in Colin's demo, you saw RMH HQ availability and global orders. This is what we introduced in the meantime, just to address the mixed environments when some of our customers still run RMS headquarters but have already migrated the store environment to RMH. This scenario is fully supported, and RMS headquarter availability add-on was basically addressing this particular scenario. But this will also be integral part of RMH Central. So the goal of RMH Central is to have centralized management of inventory, business rules, etc. So it could be on-premise, the same as RMS headquarters, or cloud-based deployment. So you're free, for example, to take this to a virtual machine somewhere into the cloud and host it there. The communication is quite different because, of course, RMS headquarters is an almost 15-year-old product, and now there are different technologies. So we use something called RESTful web service and also WebSockets APIs for communication between the store and the central. What's interesting in our case, as you know, as some of you know, that RMS headquarters used to call from the store to headquarters all the time. Now with these newer technologies, we have ability to to notify the store that something needs to be uploaded or downloaded or changed in the system. So it's a true two-way communication now at this moment. Okay, so my next is RMH Central Manager. Currently, it's going to be a Windows desktop application, very much similar in design to what you know about RMH Store Operations Manager, and it's going to be a Windows desktop application. But we're planning a web application as well. So eventually, our goal is to make it fully cloud friendly with a web front end. RMH Central will support third-party custom business objects. Like say, for example, if you're a partner, ISV, independent software vendor who develop your own systems like, I don't know, loyalty or perhaps gift cards, you know, things like that, and you have to introduce your new data tables into the environment. We support this scenario fully, so you will be able to instruct RMH Central to synchronize your business objects as well. Part of this RMH Central development is that we will support near real-time synchronization for most of the operations. Like you know, in RMS headquarters, you used to synchronize the store by using worksheets, scheduled worksheets, worksheet 401, for example, just to upload the data from the store, as many of you know. Now, this will be not existing in RMH Central. The RMH Central will basically upload all the information from the store and vice versa as necessary, just automatically. Like say, for example, there is a transaction at the POS level, you would expect that it's within a few seconds will be available for reporting in RMH Central, and so forth. Some critical areas, like for example, accounts receivables and vouchers, they will be centralized in real time. So essentially this data, we do not anticipate them being available as a separate entity in the store operations, but instead, like say for example, if you need to inquire about accounts receivable status, your POS would call directly to headquarters. Without internet, it will not be available, this feature, but we see it's a good workaround for everything that we need in this case. So one of these good news for the RMS users, no more worksheets for work. Essentially what we will have several type of worksheets for some time of limited number of the future operation, like operations that will happen in the future. For example, sale price will be in effect on July 1st, or apply that discount from August 1st to certain items and things like that. So we will be calling these jobs, and we will be used only in specific scenarios. Another very interesting feature of RMH Central is global catalog. So our business objects cached locally as needed. Not all of them, but some of them. Like say, for example, a very common situation is with if you have 100 stores in different parts of North America, and you have global customers enabled in RMS headquarters. I'm talking about RMS headquarters. Then you have, say, for example, 100,000 customers that need to be synchronized to every single store, disregarding whether or not the customer is potentially even come to visit that store to do any transaction. So that was a RMS headquarters limitation. Of course, it's very inconvenient to deal with. In RMH Central, we will not have a concept of global or local customers. We will have only global customers, but they will be synchronized to the stores as needed by using global catalog. Global catalog is essentially a mechanism that tracks which business objects are available in each store and notifies the store when they need to be updated. Like say, for example, a customer visits the store in Washington and buy something, and then they want to return it in the store in Seattle. They come in the store in Seattle, and the customer is not locally there, so the cashier is capable of going online and look up a global catalog of these customers and find this customer, of course, in the headquarters, in the RMH Central database, and then bring this customer back to the Seattle store, so that will be the customer will be able to return the transaction. Now, from that moment on, both Washington store and Seattle store will have a copy of this customer record, which will keep updating over the time as it's happening. So availability of this RMH Central, we're expecting Q3 2017, perhaps September. We will be running a special presentation for this, of course. And the price structure and licensing model is still being discussed. It's not finalized. We'll make a presentation and we'll talk to the partners, especially the partners advisory committee, about our ideas about this. Okay, Anastas, next slide, please. So this is another development that we've been working on for some time. The goal for this is we realize that our POS system as it is right now, it's a pretty heavy software which is designed for Windows environment specifically. And the reality of the retail business is that now many retailers like to use lightweight POS clients, like you know, on the iPad or Android device, tablet, so that they can check out the users, I mean the customers somewhere on the floor of the store. Essentially, it just makes the whole thing much easier to handle. So we've been working on that very heavily for the past 2 to 3 months. It's basically what it is. It's our goal in this is to expose all the rich functionality that RMH POS now has through some sort of a RESTful API that would be using HTTP or secure communication protocol to talk to the client. And the client could be a lightweight client that is deployable on Android system or iOS, for example, or even Windows if it needs to be, or even on the web browser. So we're talking about having APIs that expose the POS functionality to this kind of thin client, as we call it. So what it gives us the ability to build third-party or private label mobile POS applications. So essentially, I mean, if you're an ISV and you have a specific need or specific functionality for your type of business, or maybe a merchant with quite special requirement for the POS interface, and you require a mobile device, it's totally possible to do that right now by using our HTTP RESTful API and HTTP protocols. So currently, as an example, we're building a prototype thin client POS, which is based on HTML5 plus JavaScript mobile application. It's built for Android and iOS. It will be eventually available in the app stores for both of these platforms, and we expect that it will require separate POS license and therefore the price. But you know, this one of those things that is still being discussed. Early preview of this is in August 2017. I think we will have a webinar for that as well. And that's about it. I'm passing back to Anastas and to Corey.
Thank you, Anthony. Very impressive and exciting update indeed. Next, we will hand it over to Corey Linder to give us an update on marketing.
Thank you, Anastas. So hello, everybody. I oversee the marketing and communications team, and we are, just want to put in your view the RMH Marketplace. For those of you who don't know what that is, think of that as a hub for all your integration needs into RMH. It's a one-stop shop where you can filter by payment processor, by e-commerce provider, by whatever you need for RMH. We put them conveniently in one place. Simply filter, find what you're interested in, click on it, and it will direct you to the specific page. So hopefully that will save you a lot of time in figuring out how you're going to create a complete retail management and point of sale solution with all our trusted providers. All of these providers have been carefully vetted and are very trusted, and we highly recommend that you check that out. It's on the RMH website in the marketplace. Next slide, please. So also on the RMH website, we have a channel called News. So you will see, for example, the video recording of this webinar shortly posted on this channel, and you can also view our past webinars. Has a little bit of information about each one, and also includes the video link, as well as we'll let you know of any trainings that are coming. So if you just want to know what's coming up, this is a great site to go to. Next slide. Also, would love to point you to the resources section on the website. So the resources is twofold. It provides marketing materials and training materials. So just want to put your focus on the POS user guide. That's our latest documentation that has been published. It's for those new, very new cashiers who've probably never seen a point of sale solution, or are completely new to RMH and you just want to give them something to walk them through all the basic functions from logging in to opening their cash drawer to processing a sale. So encourage you to check that out, as well as right now the RMH full user guide of the manager program is currently in development, but we also have feature-specific, function-specific type of documentation. So please do check there, and that will be continually updated as documentation is produced. Next slide. And on that same page, you can filter for our marketing materials. So we encourage you to let everyone know that you're using RMH, or if you're a partner, this is a great way to show on your social that you're behind this product. So you will find some memes, some brochures, and some fun infographics that you can share on your social. Next slide. And also, we are actively getting press for RMH and posting that. So we do have good SEO for RMH right now, and that includes bloggers, influencers, industry publications, interviews, thought leadership articles, and as Rachel mentioned earlier in this webinar, we are looking for more case studies. We have some in the works right now, but as we all know, it's very compelling to read another person's story on how the solution solved their problem. And next slide. And this is just an example of the type of press we've been getting. It's been exciting to see publications like Business Solutions Magazine, Point of Sale News, that sort of thing have been showcasing RMH. Next slide. And so best way to get instant access to all our news is to follow us on social. Some of you like to separate your Facebook from your business, and that's fine, which is why we have a LinkedIn. So please do look for the Retail Management Hero LinkedIn, connect there. But again, we are every day updating those social channels, and that's going to be your best way to find out what's happening with RMH. We also publish our latest versions on there as well. Next slide. And finally, this is just a fun event news. So a couple weeks ago, we're the premier sponsor at the Wine Industry Technology event hosted in Sonoma, California. We showcased RMH as the complete point-of-sale solution with integrated payment processing and hardware, and that was very positively received. And so we just wanted to spotlight that as an event. So stay tuned for more events that will be showcasing RMH. And back to you, Anastas.
Wonderful. Thank you, Corey, for your rich and lovely marketing update. Next, we will hand it over to Afshin for a quick update on the e-commerce launch.
Yes, good morning, Anastas, and good morning, everyone. Following up with what Corey was just saying, we have gone through various iterations of our website, and we're working on the third and fourth iteration of the website. And one of the areas that we have been working on is adding an e-commerce area or a store area. We get over 8,000 visitors to our website, and we think that part of the question that it seems to be coming to us is that people want to know what the price of the software is, they want to know where they can buy it, they want to know if they can buy it right there on the website. And our mode of operation has always been the same. We work through a partner community, we don't sell direct, but we have made a decision that on the RMH website in the next release that should be coming out in the next month, we will be providing a store, and we will allow the customers who are coming there to be able to have a look at software and hardware and our recommendation and services for installation, and buy that all on the website. It has to be said that regardless of whether they buy it from a reseller or buy it from us, we will be passing those sales right back to our reseller channel. So even those things that are being purchased through our website will be assigned to resellers for installation, delivery, and configuration and other aspects of the operations. The website itself will also be adding another feature, which is for the payment processors, so that you can actually have a look at the grid of all of the payment processors. So we look very much forward to increasing the user community that is using RMH in the near future via the e-commerce, and also strengthen our relationship with our partner network.
Wonderful. Thank you, Afshin, for your update. And next, we would like to give you, to share with you our training schedule and our training plans, and that would be Colin, who is in charge of training.
Thank you, Anastas. Just to review, we've in the recent 2 to 3 months, we've conducted training in Las Vegas, as you see, sponsored by Shift 4. Once again in Boston, hosted by Cayenne, and Denver, hosted by Vantive. Very well attended, and we're excited with the outcome. You know, as far as field, as Anastas mentioned earlier, was existing partners looking for additional training and knowledge about system, new partners getting on board and wanting to look at promoting and selling RMH into system, and retailers wanting a more in-depth understanding of the functionality and changes within system so they can better benefit from an installation and use the features more widely spread. Obviously, based on the response, we've already got a number of people signed up for the next session of training, which will be held in Napa on August 14th to the 16th. So please, if you are interested, it will be posted on Pickettech, or reach out to your partner account manager and they'll be able to help you with the training and certification and reserve your place. We do offer discounts for additional attendees and that to it, so I think it's definitely worthwhile, and you know, I'm excited to see the outcome and the success of some of the people that have already attended that are now actively selling and have got some very successful live installs, and we hope to continue this process. One of the other ones is based on the initial training, which we try and give a very retailer-based or installation-based understanding of what the product can do. The next level is really regards to the enhancement, the customization, the development and the verticalization of product that partners want to be able to do for specific client-focused or client requirements. And based on that is the advanced technical training. We've set the date for September the 25th. We already have, again, one or two delegates signed and confirmed as interested for that. And we'd like to make this you know, very well visited. It will be handled at very high level by Anthony Ludmilla himself, and possibly with one of these head technical developers. So you're getting it really from you know, the very top of our business, from training and expertise, and I think it'll be a worthwhile exercise. And then just to allude slightly to the documentation, which is one that comes up as a request in training. Very excited that the post user guide is now available. Corey did mention that it's available on the website, and again, I don't think she gave herself enough praise for having got it achieved. I think I'm very excited to have that, working with Anastas and Anthony as well. She managed to put that together, and I think this is just an indication of more to come with the back office availability, and then a lot of other documents also included that will just start to give you a more enriched view of what is available on system. So I've just listed out a couple more there. We've got documents about the HQ availability, about the store availability, the blind closeout weights and measure, which is something we're still waiting for our certification date. Once we've got a slot, obviously that's the next step to get that side of it approved and added to system. Integration with accounting, which we dealt with a little bit earlier in part of the demo, and then also a very extensive loyalty guide produced by Anthony, who's pretty much, you know, a guru on that side of it. So again, all these there to give you a better indication of the cross-section of functionality in system, and worth taking a look at if you need more product-specific info. That's it from me. Thank you very much, Anastas.
Thank you, Colin. Excellent overview of the training opportunities and the guides. Next is how you can reach us for sales opportunities. To send us an email. This is also the support link to our support tracking system, and for RMH inquiries, this is the link as well. I'm sure most of you know how to get in touch with us, but just in case, here is how you can we can stay together. And at this point, we are nearing the end of our webinar today. So we would like to open this forum to questions and comments at